The passport in your hand doesn't have your name. You've known that for 11 years. You stopped thinking about it somewhere around year 3, somewhere between Beirut and Baghdad, somewhere between the man you were and the man they needed you to become. You're standing in a corridor beneath a building that doesn't exist in any registry. Concrete walls, a single bulb overhead. Someone is waiting behind the door in front of you, someone you trained, someone who now runs an operation you designed, in a country you've never officially visited. You open the passport one more time. The photo is yours. The name belongs to a man who died in a car accident in Mashhad in 2009. You've used 7 names since then. You no longer flinch when someone calls you by the wrong one. How did it start? It started the way everything starts. Small, ordinary, invisible. Level 1, Base Soldier. You are 19 years old. You are from Avaz, a city of oil refineries and summer heat that hits 50 degrees and doesn't apologize. Your father worked for the National Iranian Oil Company for 31 years. He never talked about his work. You learned early that silence was a form of loyalty. You were assigned to Imam Ali Garrison on the eastern outskirts of Tehran, barracks for 240 men. You sleep in bunk 17. The mattress is 2 inches thick. Reveille is at 5 a.m., 6 days a week. Physical training before sunrise, weapons maintenance by 7, ideological instruction by 9. You strip and reassemble a G3 rifle in under 40 seconds. You can recite 3 chapters of the IRGC founding doctrine from memory, not because you believe every word, but because the instructor asks without warning, and the consequences of forgetting are public and slow. The food is rice and stew. Always. Sometimes the stew has lamb. You learn to tell the difference between a good week and a bad week by the smell coming from the kitchen at 6 p.m. You make 2 friends, Dariush, who wants to become an engineer after service, and Kaveh, who doesn't talk about what he wants. You lose the habit of asking why. 8 months in, an officer you've never seen before sits in on your ideological assessment. He doesn't ask questions. He just watches you answer other people's questions. You don't think about it until 3 weeks later, when you're called into a room with no windows and handed a form with a different letterhead. The letterhead reads, Sepa et Quds. You sign the form before you finish reading it. Level 2, Quds Candidate. You are 20 years old. You are no longer at Imam Ali Garrison. You are at a facility outside Qom that does not appear on any map you have ever seen. There are 31 candidates. By the end of the program, there will be 19. No one explains what happens to the other 12. You don't ask. The compound is small, 8 buildings, a dirt track that loops for exactly 2.3 kilometers, and a classroom that smells of cigarettes and old paper. You will spend 6 months here. The training is nothing like the IRGC base. There are no parades, no ideological recitations. Instead, language labs Arabic 4 hours a day, English 2 hours, surveillance techniques, how to follow a man through a crowded market without being seen, how to be seen without being noticed, how to build a cover story with enough true details that you almost believe it yourself. One instructor, a quiet man in his 50s, who introduces himself only as Haj Reza, teaches you that the most important skill in this work is not shooting, not running, not lying. It is patience. The man who can wait, he says, controls everything. You begin to understand that Dariush and his engineering dreams belong to a different world now, a world you are slowly stepping out of. You lose Kaveh. He is among the 12 who leave after week 9. You never find out why. You never ask. In month 5, you are given your first field exercise not simulated. You are sent to a neighborhood in South Tehran. You are given a name, a photo, and an address. Your task: establish the subject's daily routine over 72 hours without being detected. You do it in 60. When you report back, Haj Reza reads your notes without expression. Then he nods once. That nod, you will later understand, is the highest praise he gives. You are good at disappearing. You just didn't know it yet. Level 3, Covert Operative. You are 22 years old. You are in Baghdad. Not officially, You are a trade consultant for a construction import firm registered in Erbil. You have a business card. You have a LinkedIn profile with 4 connections. You have an apartment on Karada Street, second floor, with a view of a bakery that opens at 5:30 a.m. and smells of cardamom until noon. Your handler contacts you every 72 hours through a messaging app that wipes itself. His name, as far as you know, is Farhad. You have never met him in person. Your actual work, mapping the patronage networks of 3 Shia militia commanders. Who owes whom money? Who controls which checkpoint? Which commander's loyalty can be purchased and at what price? You attend dinners. You shake hands. You listen more than you speak. You have learned that in Baghdad, the most valuable thing you can offer a powerful man is the feeling that you understand him. You file reports twice a week, encrypted, 40 to 60 lines each. You are told they are read at a level you will never have access to. This does not bother you. You have stopped needing to see the whole picture. Your job is one corner of it. You lose your mother's voice. Not literally, she calls every Sunday. But somewhere in month 4, you realize you are performing the conversation. The son she thinks she's talking to left the building outside Qom 2 years ago. A militia commander named Abu Haider invites you to a meeting you were not supposed to be at. 12 men in a room. A whiteboard with names on it. 3 of the names are people you have reported on. 1 of the names is yours, not your real name, your cover name. Someone in this room has been watching you watch them. You stay for the entire meeting. You take nothing with you. You rewrite everything from memory at 2 a.m. in your apartment while the bakery below is dark and the city is briefly quiet. Your report that night is 93 lines. Farhad responds in 4 words. Good. Prepare to move. You look at your fake passport one more time before packing your bag. The name still isn't yours. By now, neither is the face. Level 4, Proxy Trainer. You are 25 years old. You are in the Bekaa Valley, Lebanon, altitude 1,000 meters. Winter here is colder than anyone who hasn't been here would believe. The training camp sits between 2 ridgelines and is invisible from the road. You drove past it twice the first time before your escort pointed at what looked like a farmhouse. There are 43 men waiting for you. They are Hezbollah, mostly young, mostly from the southern suburbs of Beirut. They speak Arabic with a Lebanese dialect you've spent 3 months learning to understand without showing effort. They know you are Iranian. They do not know your name, your rank, or anything about you, except that you have been sent and that they are expected to listen. You teach urban warfare, IED placement and counter detection, how to move a weapons shipment through a port without documentation, how to run a cell of 8 men so that no single member knows more than his own task. You teach in Arabic with a Syrian accent you adopted because it creates less friction than a Persian one. Mornings are tactical. Afternoons are operational planning. You sit with the cell commanders and walk through scenarios. Real scenarios. You recognize some of the locations from intelligence reports you filed 2 years ago in Baghdad. The war is a loop. You are both inside it and designing it. Nights you spend alone. You have been given a room in the farmhouse, a cot, a desk, a window that faces the mountain. You write nothing down. Everything stays inside your head, organized the way Haj Reza taught you, by priority, by risk, by what you can afford to lose. You lose the ability to be in a room with people without automatically assessing exits, threats, and loyalties. It happens without thinking now. You notice it one evening when you're watching the trainees eat dinner, and you realize you've ranked all 43 of them by how dangerous they would be if they turned. In month 3, one of your cell commanders, a 20-year-old named Bilal, fast learner, excellent instincts, makes a mistake during a live exercise that would have gotten 4 men killed in a real operation. Protocol is clear. You report the failure. The commander is removed. The cell is restructured. You write the report. You send it. Bilal is gone the next morning. 2 weeks later, you hear through a second channel that he was not reassigned. You file that information in the part of your mind you've learned to keep locked. You tell yourself you've followed protocol. You tell yourself this more than once, which means you already know it isn't enough. Level 5, Regional Commander. You are 29 years old. You are responsible for Quds Force operations across a corridor that runs from the Syrian border through eastern Lebanon into northern Iraq. On paper, on the internal paper that almost no one sees, your area of responsibility covers approximately 180,000 square kilometers and involves coordination with 11 separate proxy groups, speaking 4 languages. You are based in Damascus now. Your cover is a cultural attaché at a trade liaison office in Meze district. You have a car, a driver, and a local handler named Walid, who has worked for the organization since before you were born. Walid does not speak much. When he does, you listen. Your days have no fixed shape. Some mornings you are in a meeting with a Syrian military general discussing supply routes. Some afternoons you are on an encrypted call with Tehran, reviewing budget allocations for 3 simultaneous operations you are not allowed to write down in the same document. Some nights you cross into Lebanon in a vehicle with no plates, meet a commander for 40 minutes, and are back in Damascus before the city wakes up. You have 6 operatives reporting to you directly. You have never met 2 of them in person. You know them by their work, the precision of their reports, the quality of their decisions under pressure, the specific way each one handles the moment when a plan stops working. You have learned to make decisions with bad information, on short timelines, knowing that the consequences will be measured in bodies and years, not in reports and revisions. You lose the last version of yourself that was capable of uncertainty. Doubt is a luxury that commanders bury early. You buried yours somewhere on a road between Damascus and the border, on a night you don't mark in your memory because marking it would mean admitting it was significant. An operation you designed 6 months of planning, 4 proxy cells, a weapons transfer worth $14 million is compromised 40 minutes before execution. You have 12 minutes to decide, abort completely and lose everything, or push through with a modified approach that increases risks to the men on the ground by a factor you cannot calculate. You push through. The operation succeeds. 2 men are wounded. None are killed. Tehran sends a message through Walid, 3 words. The council noticed. You sit with those 3 words for a long time. You are not sure if they are a compliment or a warning. You decide it doesn't matter. Both mean the same thing at this level. You are no longer invisible to the people above you. Being noticed, you will learn, is the most dangerous thing that can happen to a man in this organization, and the only thing worth working toward. Level 6. Shadow Ambassador. You are 34 years old. You no longer run operations. You design them, or rather, you design the conditions that make them possible. Your title, if anyone were to give you one, would be something like Strategic Liaison. But no title exists in any document because your position does not officially exist. You move between 4 cities, Tehran, Baghdad, Beirut, and a location in western Syria you will not name even in your own internal reports. You travel on 3 different passports, none of them Iranian. One is Lebanese, one is Canadian, obtained through a network that has been running for 19 years. One is yours, the real one. You keep it in a lockbox in an apartment in Tehran that only you have the key to. You have not opened it in 16 months. You sit in rooms with men who control governments, not the public governments, the structural ones. The men who decide what the official men are allowed to decide. You speak to them in their language, about their interests, using their frameworks, while advancing an agenda they understand only partially and consent to only approximately. This is the work at this level, alignment, not force. Force is for levels below you now. You align incentives. You create dependencies. You make it so that the leaders of non-state organizations across 5 countries find it more costly to resist Tehran's interests than to accommodate them. You do this slowly, without announcement, in the margins of conversations that officially never happened. Your apartment in Beirut has a bookshelf with 40 novels. Arabic, French, English. You read every night. It is the only hour of the day that belongs entirely to you. You lose Iran. Not physically you return regularly, but the Iran you walk through when you are back is not the one you carry inside you. The streets are the same. The smell of bread and exhaust and rosewater is the same. But you move through it like a tourist who has memorized the guidebook and still cannot find the thing the guidebook is actually describing. You are called to a meeting in Tehran, not with your usual handler, not with the council officer you report to, with a room, 7 men. You have worked in this organization for 14 years, and you recognize 2 of them. The other 5 you know only by the decisions that have shaped every operation you have ever run. They ask you one question, not about an operation, not about a country or a commander or a threat assessment. They ask you, if something were to happen to the current structure, if everything had to be rebuilt from the outside in, who would you trust to begin it? You understand immediately that this is not a hypothetical. You give them 3 names. They write nothing down. The meeting lasts 11 minutes. Someone pours tea. No one drinks it. Walking out, you pass a window. You catch your reflection, dark coat, no expression, moving with the particular stillness of a man who has learned to take up exactly the space required and no more. You look, briefly, like someone you don't recognize. The passport in your coat pocket has a name on it. It isn't yours. After 14 years, you're no longer sure which one is. Level 7, the General. You are 41 years old. There is no ceremony, no promotion letter, no moment where someone hands you a title and shakes your hand. One morning in Tehran, Walid, who has been your driver, your handler, your one constant across 16 years and 4 countries, picks you up from your apartment and takes a different route. He stops in front of a building in the north of the city you have passed 100 times without looking at it directly, because you were trained not to. Inside, a floor with no windows, 8 people already seated. The chair at the head of the table is empty. Walid opens the door, steps aside, and doesn't follow you in. You sit down, no one introduces you, no one needs to. You no longer travel under false names. You travel under no names at all. Your movements are not documented in systems that can be breached, not assigned to identities that can be traced. You exist in the operational record the way a current exists in water. You can see the effect, but you cannot point to the thing itself. Your work now is architecture, not of buildings of futures. You look at a region, a government, a balance of power, and you identify the single point where minimal pressure produces maximum realignment. Then you apply it, quietly, over months or years, through proxies of proxies, through decisions that ripple outward and are felt as weather rather than intention. You have 17 active operations across 9 countries. You know the broad shape of each. Your subordinates know the details. You have learned, were taught, over 2 decades that a general who knows too much about the ground level loses the ability to see the entire field. You hold meetings 3 times a week. You ask questions. You rarely give direct orders. The distinction matters. An order can be traced. A question, asked in the right way, produces the same result and leaves nothing behind. At night, in the apartment in Tehran, the one with the lockbox you read, same as in Beirut, it is still the only hour that belongs to you. Sometimes you think about Haj Reza, the instructor outside Qom who taught you patience. You heard he died in 2019. A stroke, they said. You were in Syria when it happened. You did not go to the funeral. Generals do not attend funerals. It would require them to exist publicly, and existence is the one thing this level cannot afford. You lose the question of whether it was worth it, not because you've answered it, but because you've reached the level where the question itself becomes irrelevant. The system does not ask its components whether they find the arrangement satisfactory. And somewhere in the last 7 years, you stopped being a person navigating the system and became part of the system navigating itself. This happened slowly. Then, all at once, you notice it not in a dramatic moment, but in a small one. A subordinate makes an ethical objection to an operation carefully worded, genuinely felt. You listen. You understand his reasoning completely. You remember when you would have made the same objection. Then you tell him the operation proceeds, and you feel nothing except the mild administrative irritation of having to repeat yourself. An operation goes wrong. Not catastrophically contained, manageable, The kind of failure that produces an internal review and a revised protocol. 3 men are killed. 2 of them you selected personally for the mission 8 years ago, when they were candidates at a facility outside a city you won't name. You remember them not well, but enough to know they were good. The internal review clears the operation as within acceptable parameters. The revised protocol is implemented within the week. The system absorbs the loss, the way a body absorbs a bruise pain, then adjustment, then the bruise simply stops being visible. You sign the review document. Your hand doesn't hesitate. That night, you open the lockbox in your apartment for the first time in 4 years. Inside, your real passport, Iranian, your real name, a photograph of you at age 19, taken before Imam Ali Garrison, before Qom, before Baghdad and Beirut and Damascus and the building in North Tehran, with no windows. You look at the photograph for a long time. The boy in it looks back at you with an expression you can no longer read. You close the lockbox. You don't open it again. Somewhere in this city, a 19-year-old just signed a form without finishing reading it. The corridor beneath the building, that doesn't exist. You are standing here again, or still. Time moves differently at this level. The concrete walls, the single bulb, the door. You reach into your coat and take out the passport. Not the Lebanese one, not the Canadian one, the one you've carried for 22 years, the name of a man who died in a car accident in Mashhad in 2009. The photograph is yours from age 20. The face is recognizable if you look carefully. You have stopped looking carefully. You open the door. Inside, a young man, maybe 21, maybe 22, straight posture, careful eyes, the specific stillness of someone who has learned to perform calm before they feel it. He is holding a folder. He looks up when you enter. You sit across from him. You don't introduce yourself. He doesn't ask you to. You ask him one question, the same question Haj Reza asked you 20 years ago, in a classroom that smelled of cigarettes and old paper, at a facility that didn't appear on any map. He answers without hesitating. You nod once. Then you place the passport on the table between you, face up. You watch him look at it, the worn edges, the wrong name, the photograph of a person who no longer exists. He doesn't touch it. He understands, the way you understood, that it isn't an object, it's a threshold. You stand, you button your coat, you walk to the door. Behind you, the passport is still on the table. You don't look back. You stop needing to see where you've been a long time ago. Outside, the corridor is empty. The bulb hums. The building that doesn't exist continues not existing in the way that only the most real things can.